that's how you create the story. I do it live. You're with me on that journey. If that XJS had broken down on that journey down, you would have seen it. And I quite like doing those sort of stories because you don't know if you're actually going to get there.
Stars, cars, guitars.
I've really been looking forward to this episode of Stars, Cars, Guitars, where I go solo. I'm going to introduce you to my favorite YouTuber. This is the guy who nearly broke YouTube with all of his views. And I want to talk Bond Lotuses, XJS Jaguars, and that fella Jay Leno, who I've heard's a bit of a fan. It's Harry Metcalfe from Harry's Garage. Hello, Harry.
Hello, Alex. Great to speak to you. That's quite an introduction.
You really have been a storm across YouTube with Harry's Farm and Harry's Garage. Of course, we really want to talk to you about cars. And it all you started this YouTube channel, what, 6 years ago?
It is about that. I mean, it was only sort of fairly casual in the beginning because I had lots of other things to do, but I just wanted to put a few videos out there. And it's just impossibly easy to sign up into YouTube and put something out there. And then, yeah, oh, I better do another. Oh, I better do another one. And then sort of it became what I do. I think, yeah, big change was I actually took over the editing of it about a year ago. And that really sort of condenses the mind because suddenly you're doing the whole process from saying, I think I might video that. And then you go and edit it down and then it pop it out. So it's actually very satisfying, I find it now. My dear wife, somehow I persuaded her to do the filming. You just hold the camera. And then she has a clothing allowance, which encourages her to hold the camera and things like that. And so that's how it works. And I just get away with it. I find a little bit of resistance if it's raining, windy and miserable out. But I do kick her out to say, can you film me going around this corner? And I'm not sure how long I can get away with it, but it's working at the moment. And it's worked for the last 2 or 3 years.
Let's take a look at some of your videos now. This is how I discovered you. I thought entry market level for me is going to be an XJS. So I watched your one. Let's just see you now with this XJS. This is Harry in his XJS in Monte Carlo. Now, the first thing I thought was a nice Jag. Then I thought, great color. I don't even remember that color from the late 70s, early 80s. And then I thought, it's in Monaco. How much did that trip cost you? Do you remember?
I don't add it up. It's like running a boat. It's much better to say each individual bill, but don't actually put them all on one piece of paper. It was quite a lot, actually. But I did persuade Octane magazine. I said, it's a really good story. I've got an XJS in Monaco. Do you want to do a story on the way back? Oh, yes, please. So therefore, I didn't actually have to pay for the petrol on the way back. Octane did, and that was nice. So I paid one way. I've had that car for about a year, and there is a most glorious sales brochure for that car when you used to get brochures for new cars. And they shot it on Route Napoleon and down in Monaco at a hotel there. There's a guy, he's sort of pointed to his bags of his umbrella. And the doorman is taking the bags out of the XJS, and it's a very posh hotel in Monaco. Name escapes me. So we just reenacted the brochure. So that was the idea for that story. But it did mean driving 1,000 miles to Monaco in an XJS on Route Napoleon as well. So it was a really memorable story, actually. I have to say, really quite enjoyed that one.
It's the one I want you to do again.
Again, I wonder. Yeah, well, a little bit of background stuff. Oh, it's probably quite common knowledge, but if Top Gear or Grand Tour do a story like that, they do a huge amount of filming on the way back because that's how you create the story. Because I do it live. You're with me on that journey. If that XJS had broken down on that journey down, you would have seen it. And I quite like doing those sort of stories because you don't know if you're actually going to get there. But I suppose I could go back. I don't know if I'd do it with the XJS again. You want me to do it with the XJS again?
Something James Bond, something Simon Templar, something kind of 70s sexy. I just think classic cars in Monaco. I mean, who's not going to watch that, Harry?
I know, that is true. I've got a Jaguar XJ Coupe V12 manual. Maybe that is my next car to take down to Monaco or something like that. Yeah, that would do.
I think that would work. Another one I got on board with was I called it the Rolls Royce wedding car, the white Silver Shadow. You really liked it in white because your first boss you worked with, before they were all the craze for wedding cars, had a white Silver Shadow, you told me. To me, a white Silver Shadow is cheap wedding car. However, what kind of risk was that for you with Mrs. M sat by you? You're taking her to the Arctic Circle. You don't know whether the car is going to break down. The roads did look treacherous. I know you had some mud and snow tyres. How much of a gamble was it that that car would get there?
Massive. And I didn't quite, naivety helped here, as it helped in the launch of Evo. But that one, we really got away with it because we actually so happened to go there at the time the beast from the east was hitting the UK and was hitting Norway as well. And it was a bit chillier up there than it was in the UK. Massively got away with it on that one. Something I hadn't actually realised, that if you get to temperatures of -20 and below, Patricia said, I'm not that warm. She likes, like some people like a cool car and some like a warm car. I quite like a warm car. Patricia likes a really cold car. And that was sort of all right when we discovered the heating wasn't very good on the passenger side, sort of going through Germany and stuff. Once it started to get to the -20 mark, she decided she wanted a bit of heat on the passenger side, and there wasn't any. And it just didn't work. The heating didn't work on her side of the car. So the combination of, can you just film me going through this blizzard from the outside, please? And, this corner, there's nowhere to turn around. In those sort of temperatures, that was a high risk. I'm surprised Harry's Garage managed to put some more videos out because I wasn't popular at all on that one.
What did that do to the clothing allowance? Did it have to increase substantially?
Yes, there was a lot of very special clothes following that event. Yes.
Warm ones.
Yes. Well, allegedly warm ones, but they were just expensive. That's all I saw.
The other thing we all know about classic cars is they have old lights and old wipers. Yeah. So in bad weather, they are, and of course old brakes, but I'm sure you managed to service the brakes. Getting the wipers sorted out for that kind of driving now, and the lights, that's a whole different ball game. So you did take a bit of a risk.
Yes, lights were okay. That car was £4,200 off eBay. I then spent about £7,000 prepping it and going right through it before doing that film, which just because I'd be mad not to. And so it was in pretty good order when we took it. But there is a different operation to do on that car. But the whole story to me was it was a $4,000 car off eBay. So that was it.
But only just, Harry, because by the time you were driving it, it was a 11, 12 grand Silver Shadow, which probably it wouldn't even be, would it be worth that now?
5 probably now. I'm trying to think what I did. It was tight. That includes doing all the equipment for the cold weather stuff. So the tyres, there's 1,200 quid's worth of tyres on it. There was shockers. I put new shockers, had a new fuel tank put on it. I had all the fuel system done. Every oil was changed in every gearbox, diff, everything. Make sure the radiator's up to it. That I will do. So I don't go into it blind and say, that'll get there. No, there was quite a lot of prep.
Another great video that Harry did was he took a Lotus Esprit to some James Bond locations, like the one in The Spy Who Loved Me, where Roger Moore's a Barbara Bach.
In The Spy Who Loved Me, there were 2 Lotus Esprits. And the first one you see, they're actually filming out in Sardinia. And or is it Cyprus? One of the two, I can't remember. And it says in the window, it says protected or something in the window. And the baddie goes to open the door and the car blows up. And then mysteriously, you then in the film, you go back to Q's lair and Roger Moore says, you're rebuilding my Esprit. Yes, you did a lot of damage to that. But it's changed colour and no continuity. It's just mad that this colour of the car changes mid-scene if you watch The Spy Who Loved Me. So then it turns up as a sort of bronze colour, metallic, in Cortina in Italy. Very briefly, it doesn't do much. And when I did the research on it, they had decided that, hang on, we don't want a white car against the snow. That'll look rubbish. So that's why they blew it up and it changed colour in Q's lab and went bronze to look good in the snow. So, but I just thought it should have been white all the way through, and therefore I took my white Lotus Esprit and redid the scenes from the Bond movie out in Cortina. And that was an ace trip. That was mega, actually.
So by now, I'm expecting Mrs. Metcalfe to be nervous when you say you want to reenact some James Bond in a white Lotus, because she thinks you and her are going to be plunging into the sea to see if it turns into a submarine. But you said, don't worry, we're only going to be driving on treacherous mountain roads again.
That would be a bit hard to do, the beach scene, wouldn't it, with a Lotus Esprit? You'd do it once, I think. Yeah, but yeah. That one didn't swim. There's a story on that one. It's actually on a wire, on a winch, and it's been winched up the beach. But we don't want to destroy the magic of cinema.
The Lotus drove really well. You were really, really impressed with how reliable it was and what a great drive it was.
I absolutely love that car. I think it's just a great shape. And I was very lucky. I bought that car. I didn't meet the original owner. I tried to connect to him, but he had owned that from new, and I bought it in late 2018, early 19, when he decided to sell it. But it went through someone else before I got it, who never did. It was just a dealer transaction. But I thought, God, he extraordinary. It had 20,000 miles on it, and in that much time, but he looked over it so well. Sometimes you get a car that hasn't done any miles, you open the doors and it has that whiff of old car. There was none of that with this car. It was just beautifully kept and just worship.
Stars, Cars, Guitars. Subscribe. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, and starscarsguitars.co.uk.
How many cars have you got in the garage?
Well, it's funny that, because we've just done, there's a census going around at the moment, and my wife came and said, how many cars have we got? And I said, I think it's 25 or 26. So she pumps it into the census. Oh, that's not allowed. You can only have a maximum of 20. So the census, I think it's 25, but that's too many for the UK census. So it's 20.
Of course. And do you think you just cannot keep all the cars you want? So I do think every once in a while, I think you've said you will, let a few go and get some more.
Yeah, I'm now rationing myself. I am slightly out of control, although I know collectors would more, but I now, it's one in, one out policy. So I'm limited at that. But I haven't got a one in, one out policy on the motorbikes yet, and there's 12 or 14 of those. So I think I need to impose some self-control on that side as well. So
you've got a history in publishing and in magazines, and you know a few people in television who do motoring items. When you first started doing this 6 years ago, was it just as a bit of a hobby? And were you kind of languishing with about 117 views for a couple of months before it really started to make traction? It actually went up quite quickly. It ramped up at the beginning to 50,000 or thereabouts, really quite quickly, and then took a year to go over 100,000. And then in the last, something happened. Someone turned a switch in about September 2019, and then it went wallop and went right up. And lockdown and everything has been extremely kind. Because people got nothing to do. They're so bored, they're actually watching Harry's Garage. So that's been fantastic as well, actually. And you just feel, I almost feel a responsibility. I'm so lucky to have the garage, have stories to tell, and be able to do it very locally. You just think, well, if they're enjoying it, poor guys, nothing worse than sat at home. And just a bit like, like your program, it's quite nice to go Sunday and you have your loyal following and you put something out next Sunday, and it's, you feel a slight responsibility that keeps you going, and you enjoy it anyway. Have you any idea what happened? I spoke to one YouTuber who he just checks out abandoned houses and he finds barns with deserted cars in it. And he said, Alex, there was one video I put up, and my American viewers just went nuts for it, and they started sharing it and spreading it around. And then my other videos started to get lots of watches as it filtered down. So he knew which video it was. I think he did a deserted RAF base or something like that in the UK, or maybe it was an ex-American base, and a big American audience picked up on it. And that's the video where he arrived on YouTube. Have you any idea what it was for you back in, what was it, September 2019? Yeah.
just can't put a finger on. I did a podcast with Chris Harris, which I'd never done before, and that just seemed to do something much more than I expected. And again, Chris is. It's so odd when you know these guys. I've known him 20 years. He's worked for me, and he just thinks, I was talking to Chris, but he does have a bit of a following, and therefore that must have generated something. But no, there wasn't one, like, you were saying, there wasn't. But I do, in the background, I remember at Evo days, I'd like to do crazy stories that make no sense. Nothing. The publisher would never sign off taking a Testarossa to the Sahara, for instance, which I did in 2016. And you never actually get the views, the spend you've put into it, do a trick like generate the views. But what they generate is a loyalty. God, he's that mad bloke who took a Testarossa to the Sahara and the Rolls Royce to the Arctic. And you just, as long as you've got a few of those in the back catalogue, they will then discover your back catalogue because they wanted to see that's crazy, and they go and see what else you've done. So I think it's really useful to actually gain traction later, after a year or two, because then when you do get discovered, they go for your back catalogue, and that's the beauty of it. And sometimes you can be a one-shot video and there's nothing behind it, and you're constantly trying to create something that gains that bit of traction. So I think that's been a real help as well, having a back catalogue and doing low profile.
Do you prefer doing the new cars or the classics?
I like doing the new cars because you just want to know what's happening in the marketplace, and it's going to be fantastic, because it's brand new. As time moves on, I'm starting almost dreading to do the new cars because they're having to add electric, add other things that aren't making them as so exciting. And therefore the classic cars are quietly coming up on the radar. I do the mix, and especially so in the winter months, because classics and salty roads and things like that don't really mix. So I always try and have a few new cars. But yeah, it's funny, like the Land Rover Defender was a delight because it's not trying to be a sports car, and none of the current legislation holds it back. It can be a really characterful car, it can be a fabulous forward-looking car, new tech on the engine, battery, all suits that sort of car. But I almost dread doing the sports cars because I've got a BMW M4 tomorrow, and it's like 1,800 kilos. I've just done the M3 CSL, and it's like 1,300 kilos, normally aspirated and beautiful carbon bits. I feel for them. The new car, sports car, is a tricky space at the moment.
Harry, your video channel, both your video channels, very, very successful. But Harry's Garage, last time I looked, and it's probably gone up since then, and I looked an hour ago, so you've probably got another 10, 20,000 views since then. The new Defender review you did, which is brilliant, by the way, I loved it, had 660,000 views. Now, when this video actually goes out, there'll be a lot more than that. But you're getting viewing figures that a lot of TV channels would kill for. Yeah. So you must be very popular in the trade.
Yeah, I think they get bombarded. Yeah, they do. I'm very fortunate. I've had cars offered to me that aren't offered to others and things. But I have my own rules in that I want the car here. I don't generally go to their premises. I made an exception for Gordon Murray because he couldn't, the car wasn't operating. I know Gordon, I did a walk around the car, but genuinely, I want to live with the car for a week. So I am quite often late to market because for a manufacturer, they want to get instant, cars everywhere. So they invite a lot of journalists to one place and then they all put out a video. But from my point of view, as a consumer, I don't want to see 100 videos done in sort of 2 hours at BMW's premises. Just not interested because I just don't think you've actually learned anything. You're just trying to be first with the story. And therefore, I always say, right, when you can give me one for a few days, I'll do a review on it. So, yeah, I'm a bit tricky. I always thought, Mr. Clarkson is not always now the first with cars, but I always really enjoy his reviews because he also lives with a car, has the same rules, live for a week. But Jay Leno, the same one. He never goes out on launches, very popular. So it's sort of taught me if you're going to do a video, you've got to do it right. If I do that review on that Defender, that is a review on the Defender. I'm not going to do another drive in a week's time when I've had it for, you know, much longer or something. So it has to be definitive in my head. So I'm getting all editorial and publisher type. But
and that gives you the crazy thing is you've got no TV executives, no TV channel, no pressure, no emails telling you where you should be and what you should be doing, which makes you boss, which ultimately, because you're so successful, right, you've got all the power, Harry. This is a win-win situation.
I don't know. Oh, it's very, Alex, you're making it up. I don't look at it like that at all. I just enjoy what I do. I enjoy telling the stories. There's a good story to tell. I absolutely love the most recent video, M3 CSL. Someone had put a manual gearbox on it. Fabulous F1 engineer. Used to be at Williams F1, and then he went to McLaren and loved M3s. And found out the way he could turn an SMG, an automated manual, into a manual. And you have to recode the engine ECU and stuff that I don't understand. Lovely guy down in Banbury. And it transforms this iconic car that we all criticised in 2003 for having an SMG gearbox, which is an automated manual with paddles. Why hasn't this got a manual gearbox? And there's this F1 engineer, and he's so busy. And I just love telling that sort of story, discovering him, putting it out, and telling people, you should do this, because this really is a fabulous thing.
I think part of your success is you come across as a really likable, decent, trustworthy guy, and it makes you very watchable. And if you're blushing, tough, because I'm saying it as I see it. And I would imagine, I know you've known Jeremy Clarkson for a long, long time, but Jeremy Clarkson and Jay Leno, are they watching Harry's Garage?
Jeremy doesn't. He's got far more important things to do, running the farm, you know, having a glass of rosé in the evening. But Jay Leno does. I know. He's mentioned me a couple of times in videos, 2 or 3 times. So I know, you know, I used to see him at events in the old days when we used to have events. But he's a genuine guy. I can never get over. He's so popular. We don't realise how popular he is in the States, in the UK when he visits, because of his chat show for all those years. But he's a complete car nut. I remember David Lillywhite, Octane editor at the time, saying I just went into a bookstore and there he was browsing books in his bookstore downtown LA. He just can't help himself. But yeah, so they do know. Yeah, Jay Leno, definitely. And
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I borrowed Jeremy's car, he's got this Alfa Romeo GTV 6. And I thought, well, I could do with a classic. And not tested one. I rang him up and said, Clark, could I borrow your Alfa? Oh, yeah, sure. And I just went round to pick it up. And then there was pandemonium all over Drive Tribe. I had no idea, because Mike Senny, the guy who runs Drive Tribe, had also rung Jeremy to test his car. And Mrs. Jeremy said, oh, I think that'd be all right. He rocked up, and Jeremy wouldn't let him drive it. So they had this video of him not being let to drive my car. I'm not letting anyone drive your car. And they did this, and it was genuine. And then they say, hang on a minute, how can Harry Metcalfe? He lends it to Harry Metcalfe. And I didn't say anything about it being Jeremy. I said it's a farmer, borrowed it from a farmer friend up the road. And it was Jeremy all along. So I don't understand sometimes, Jeremy, why he wouldn't lend it to Drive Tribe, but he'll lend it to Harry's Garage. So it was a bit odd.
Harry's Garage is the man. I mean, I've seen that video on Drive Tribe. And you must get such a good feeling about putting a video up. You told me you work to a deadline, because that is your background. The only way you can do it and cope with it is to work to a deadline. And every Sunday tea time, whenever it is, it goes up. So what is your week like? How long does it take to make a video? And how many people have you got helping you? Who's filming it? How many edits are there? Because I would imagine the more popular the channel's got, the more pressure there is on Harry.
There's a little bit, isn't there? But I did the edit for next Sunday's video this morning, but I haven't finished it. What I do, in layman's term, how to do a video, you lay out the audio and you get the story together, and then you overlay all the B-roll and all the other bits to add colour to your narrative, is how I do it. So I laid out the narrative this morning, and then I will just quietly just get the other bits, pictures I want to add, bit of history, bit of Evo story, add those over the last couple of days, perhaps in the evenings, perhaps in the morning. And and hey presto, there's a video ready, uploaded for Saturday.
Are you addicted to your views? When you put your video up, are you looking at your phone or your computer every hour thinking, oh, another 4,000, oh, another 8,000?
You want
Harry, come on, be honest.
Yeah, no, I do. I do look at the first hour, and then just see if it's going to go to 100,000 within the 24 hours. That's the two things I look, and then I think, Christ, I've got to do another one, and then I concentrate on the next one. So the first day, yeah, I do check several times a day just to see how it's performed. And think, phew, got away with that one, right? Now the next one, how would I make it better than that one?
What about putting ads in? Is it a temptation to put more and more ads in to fund it? I know you've got some sponsorship at the beginning, or do you think I don't need the money, or do you think I shouldn't be turning the money down? People want to advertise on Harry's Garage.
Yeah, I didn't know ads. It's a funny thing. It's a British thing that we have resistance to it. Almost. I found in the early days, I never put something called a mid-roll ads in, thinking that would up the viewership. I'm not sure if it did or not. And then YouTube made it that you had to opt out. They started putting mid-roll in, and then ad income just took off. I thought, hang on a minute, what have they done? And then thought, actually, they're putting too many. So I do control it, and it's given the freedom. I'm doing 2 rebuilds this year. So the Jaguar XJS Coupe V12 being rebuilt, my little Lancia Zagato, and it's just, I feel like I can spend that money on the garage. That will give, more entertainment, more views. People like the rebuilds, seeing how somehow it's sort of when you see someone else spending their money and then finding that it's more rusted than they thought it was going to be, it's somehow enjoyable watching other people spend their money and hurting because it's gone over budget. It's like grand designs. How much they spend? Oh, look how much they spent, $500,000. They're only going to spend 200. Don't know. I don't want to be that person who overspends by double budget, but yeah, so that's what's happening. So I put the mid-roll in, and it's only UK people complain. I think we have a slow tolerance level of ads because we're being brought up on the BBC. Nowhere else in the world actually moans about the ads. They just say that's how it works. That's when I watch TV or I watch YouTube, there's ads in it, because that's how they make the YouTube videos. So yeah, and UK is about 37% of the viewership, something like that.
Look, we could talk to you all day. Harry's video is going out on a Sunday. We recorded this on a Monday, so you can see how much work he's putting into his next video. Harry, would you come back and do this again with us one day?
It's fine. Yeah, this is just as much fun as doing videos, really. It's very similar. Yeah, so thanks for the invite.
And we're doing all the work this time, Harry. The XJS, that beautiful orangey yellow, what's that colour called?
There's several yellows. Oh dear, that could almost be my car. It's Cotswold yellow for some reason. There was a primrose yellow and a Cotswold yellow, and that is what that colour of that car is. I know there's some people who don't like the colours of Jaguars in the 70s, and I did someone sent me an interview with the sales director for America of Jaguar in the 70s, and he asked about the colours. He says, yeah, you can have any colour you like as long as it's horrible. And he hated the colours, and he's had such difficulty selling the colours, because if you go back to the 60s, Jaguars had beautiful colours. They were metallic, that light blue you see on E-Type and stuff. In the 70s, BL got hold of the colour palette, and BL directors decided what colours Jaguars were going to be sold in, and it really annoyed the Jaguar boys. But that is one colour that sort of works, it's why we associate that colour with the 70s.
I love it, and I know that is nowhere near the most expensive car in your collection. Would you ever let it, look into my eyes, would you ever let it go?
Well, Alex, you're in luck, because I did let it go, and that owner is actually now selling it, and it's in Guildford, up for sale with a dealer there. So you could go and have a look at it. You could at least do a test drive in it, couldn't you? A long one.
Wow! Is he going to say? Is he going to say? Look, it's a couple of grand over book, but that's because it was featured in Harry's Garage.
I don't know. I don't think so. That wouldn't put the value up. How many miles? Because I think I put a lot of miles on that car for the mileage it had. I think it was 20-something thousand miles, and that trip did 2,500, 3,000 miles in all. So yeah, they're very gentle miles, honestly, Alex. It was just a cruise down there. There was nothing. But yeah, I'd go and have a look at it. It's up for sale now because I actually got to do an email to someone who's looking at it and wants some bits of information on it. So I know.
All right, Harry. Look, we'll see you next time around. Thank you very much. And just keep those videos coming. We love Harry's Garage.
Thank you very much. Yeah, well, thanks for watching. Thanks for doing this. See you around.
Stars, Cars, Guitars was produced by Tom Stroud.